God, I love it when you do that. I'm serious. It happened the first time I came. It happened. I started the Shema Nevi'ahavta, and there's something about a Dat Shalom that just won't wait. So you just started leading me. Most places I lead other people, but you led me, and that was one of the ways that I knew that this was a community that I wanted to be a part of. That you were my people, because there's something inside you that decidedly lacks patience. I can relate. I experience you as people of conscience. I experience you as people of character. I think that you live your values. And that's why you're the ones that I want to have this conversation with. And it's a doozy, which is, my friends, what are we going to do about what's going on in this country? Look, I could sit here and I could describe all the things that are keeping me up at night, but there's only 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Instead, what I'll say is this: what I found myself, and I don't know if this is happening to you too, but is that I find myself sort of gripped in these moments by a profound paralysis. I'll see something on the news, online. Increasingly, it'll happen in my face, and I just won't be able to move. And there's no really predicting rhyme or reason. I was reading something in the Times the other day about chip sales to the UAE, advanced AI chip sales to the UAE. Do I know about AI? Do I know about chips? Do I know about the UAE? No. But what the article said was that it was alleging or reporting that there were billions of dollars of kickbacks associated with the deal to going to the highest echelons of our country and our government. And I just found myself, I couldn't move. I was filled with such foreboding. And that is just a small, relatively, incident. The ones that I think everyone would feel like are when outside of an elementary school in Mount Pleasant, there are federal agents, and they have masks on their face, and they do not have badge numbers on their body armor. Also, why are they wearing body armor? And why do they have guns in their hands as children walk to and fro from school? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Given everything that's happened, who are we going to choose to be in this moment, and how are we going to choose to be it? I walk the floors at night asking myself this question. And I'll tell you that when it comes to the what, well, to be honest, there are veterans of government service and of the civil service. There are just veterans, people who have led large nonprofits that care for people, activists for generations, lawyers who fight for rights that are sitting in this room right now. And really, we need your wisdom. And what you say to do, what they say to do, listen to them. Follow them. They are the ones best positioned to lead us, hopefully, into a hopeful future. But I'm here because I think we can talk together about the question of how we're going to do it. What are the inner resources? What are the psychological strength? What's the kind of spiritual resilience we need to be able to make it through? And for me, it boils down to one word. It boils down to one word, and it's the opposite, right? It's right there on the theme of the High Holidays about not being afraid at all. It boils down to one word, and that word is courage. The Torah will help us have courage. And not only that, but it will help us have the right kind of courage. You know what the right kind of courage is? The wrong kind of courage is a knee-jerk reaction which takes guts, but as a result sinks us deeper into the mire, into the violence, into the vicissitudes, into the argumentation, into the hatred. The right kind of courage has the potential to lift us up out of that muck. And in order to describe that, let me tell you a story. In 1927, the Rebbe Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson of Lubavitch was arrested by the Soviets. Schneerson, Lubavitch, you know who I'm talking about? Yeah. The reason that you can improbably get kosher food in Nepal? So it was, it's true. Why Nepal? So, by the way, that wasn't that guy. That was the last guy. This was the Rebbe before, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the second, the penultimate Rebbe. And the thing to know about the Rebbe Yosef Yitzchak was that he was arrested 7 times in his life for political activities, mostly imagined by the Russians. the first time when he was 11 years old. Now, interestingly, I actually didn't come to tell you a story about the Rebbe. I came to tell you a story about his daughters, Shana and Chaya Mushka. I know it's a funny sounding name. But she, by the way, Chaya Mushka, becomes the Rebbetzin of Chabad herself and a towering figure in her own right. But they were in their mid to late 20s that night when the Cheka, the Soviet secret police, burst into their house at 2 a.m., demanding to see Schneerson, ransacking the place, turning it upside down. And then eventually, the lead agent, whose name was Nachmanson. And if that sounds Jewish to you, unfortunately, you're right. A conversation for another time, I think. Nachmanson turns, whirls on the young women, and he demands of them, what party do you belong to? Telling them that they should either say they belong to the Communist Party or daring them to say that they don't. Now the thing is, because the Rebbe was arrested so many times, after the first one, a teacher of his said, you should keep a journal of all these difficult things that happen to you. It will help you. And so we know with a tremendous amount of accuracy what was said that night when the secret police came through the door. And here's what was said. We belong to our father's party, the daughters replied. We are nonpartisan daughters of Israel. We are fond of the old ways of our patriarch Israel and detest the new aspirations. And then Nachman asked them, but why? And Shana replied. Shana was the one who took the tune up the tune at this point. Why? I don't have to tell you why. You asked for my views. I told you. But as to the question why, I'm under no obligation to reply to you. After all, you didn't come through to rummage through my house to have a discussion with me. What we have always been, that is what we are now. And what we are now, we are telling you, irrespective of whether it makes you happy or not. And at this point in time, Nachmanson has had enough. The Cheka were feared. People were terrified of them. He wasn't going to let these mid-20s young women give him guff. And so he decides to frighten the hell out of them. And he says, you know what? You better have more respect for my authority. The people that I represent, the GPU, that's the precursor to the KGB, right? Over there, they have interrogators who are craftsmen, and nobody says no to them, threatening them with imprisonment or worse. Over there, everybody talks. Nobody says no. People melt like stones. What do you think of that? And Shana replied, that's the whole calamity of the thing. People want to take everything by brute force. What a repulsive and unjustifiable thing it is to take hold of men with minds and opinions by the might of the fist and the threat of the revolver. And they continued on in this vein. And what the Rebbe's journal says, by the way, as you could see, the place was filled with these big, burly agents of the KGB, and you could watch them minute by minute wilt under the onslaught of two women in their mid-20s who would not stop berating them. He follows, by the way, with this proscript. I cannot deny that I found it pleasing to hear the way she spoke so sensibly, in such a decisive voice, with such cool-headed, though simulated calm. At the same time, I was afraid lest this Nachmanson would send them to prison. And I am so deeply moved by the courage of these women. Are you? How could you not be? Can you imagine? Can you imagine what it must have took, not just to speak up in that moment, right? Secret agents are through your door, and you have the temerity to speak up, but not only to speak up, but to speak so well, with brilliance and composure, and a certain kind of restraint into giving the excesses of the moment, but a relentlessness which the Jewish people know well. What must it have taken for them to do what they did? How did they find the strength and the courage to do it? And most importantly, how can we learn from them? This is the Torah that I want to know. This is the Torah that we need. What is their Torah? I'm going to tell you right now what I think it is. I think that Shana and Chaya teach us that a person should always put their love above their fear. I think that there is a higher love, a higher calling, a calling to principle and to truth, to justice as we understand it, to goodness as we might pursue it, to fairness, to dignity and kindness, to a kind of inner reserve of what is right and what is true and what is good. And you should love that thing, and it should be, let it be greater than the sum of all your fears. And that love which you bind yourself to, it should burn a coal in your heart, and it should be there every single day. And it shouldn't just stay in your heart. It should go from your heart to your mouth, so that you speak of your love, your higher love, every chance you get. And it shouldn't just stay in your mouth, but it should go to your hands, so that when you do mitzvahs in this world, you should dedicate them to that love. And it should go to your feet, so that when you find people who preach the higher love, and who teach the higher love, and who fight for the higher love, that you should walk with them, behind them, inside them, and in front of them. It should take over your body, this love. And that is what will protect you from fear, because where your love is, your courage lies too. French speakers in the room, what's the root of the word courage? Cœur, heart. I bet you that that's what they did. I bet you that they kept their love so close. I bet you that they taught that love to their children. I bet you that they spoke of the importance of who they were and what they were doing, the grand scheme of what they believed in and their part in it when they walked on the way and when they sat down in their house. I bet you they spoke of it when they went to bed at night and when they got up in the morning. I bet you they believed with every fiber in their being that they owed that love, all of their soul and all of their life and every single capability that they have. And you know how I know it? Some of you know it too. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, and you shall love Adonai your God with all your soul and with all your life and with all the capabilities that you have. And you should take these words which I command you today, and you should teach them to your children, and you should speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk upon your way, when you rise up and when you lie down, and you should write them upon the doorposts. So they should be a sign upon your arm and a reminder between your eyes, and you should write them upon your doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And that whole ve'ahavta, it begins with love. Now, this is always tricky for me, because you know me, many of you know me, and you know I'm a little nuts for the religious thing. Is it so bad? And what I mean is that God, Torah, Israel, they flow off of my tongue, right? That's my training. That's what I know. It's how I know how to express the most important things in my heart, which are not always easy to do. And I'm not going to say that the issues that we face and the love that I'm talking about is bigger than God or bigger than Torah, because I don't really believe that something can be bigger than something like that. But what I am going to say to you is it matters not a whit at all whether you believe or don't believe in God or a higher power, whether you're atheist or believer, whatever it is that you ascribe to, because the God that you don't believe in is calling you to account right now and is asking you to rise. The higher power that you're not sure is there is demanding of you that you bind yourself to love and that you fight for it and that you find the courage in your heart. You don't have to believe in God. You have to believe in us, in this life. Listen, Jews are used to this. This is something kind of funny and true about the Jewish people that's totally normal for us. I'm not sure how it is. I'll explain to you what I mean. You know how we have a principle from the Torah that every single person is created with inestimable worth. And we get it from the Torah. It's right at the beginning of the Torah, because we say that every single person is created in a certain image, the image of, and the Hebrew for that is B'Tselem Elokim, right? Right there. Many of you said it right there. I know people who are bopping around this town all the time who are like, I don't believe in God, but I know that you were created in her image. Only the Jews. What I want you to do is I want you to choose with all your heart to devote yourself to this love. There was a very influential 20th century thinker, Israeli thinker by the name of Yeshayahu Leibovitz. He was an iconoclast. He had a huge effect on Israeli society. His sister, Nechama Leibovitz, was the most important teacher of the weekly portion, the Parsha of our time. And Leibovitz says, quite famously, he says, there is nothing cognitive about faith. He says, faith is not an intellectual series of deductions that lead you to a reasoned conclusion. It doesn't work that way. He proves it to us from the Torah. He basically says, remember the generation of the slaves, the generation of the desert? The ones who left Egypt and who received the Torah at Sinai. The ones who every morning and every evening, God was right there in their midst. They would get up in the morning, have their coffee, say hello to God. Do you remember what happened when they had 15 minutes of free time? What was the first thing they did? They made a golden calf, right? They were terrible at having faith. The Midrash calls them mikatnei emunah. They had no faith. And Leibovitz says, look, it was right there in front of them and they didn't believe. And then there were generations later who had no miracles and no signs and no wonder, who in fact suffered for what they believed, and they believed with a whole heart. You cannot understand faith as something cognitive. He gives a different word to it. Hopefully the neuroscientists and the philosophers in the room will know the word is conative. It refers to the part of the mind that deals with choice and will and free will. And Yeshayahu Leibovitz says that is what faith is all about, because there is no greater expression of free will than choosing what you believe and what you don't. And I want you to choose love and courage. I think what's hard for us all is about half the country made a very different choice. I don't think that the people who are unconcerned with what's going on are bad people. I think that they're people like us. I think that they love their families and have mixed feelings about their jobs. Or they love their jobs and have mixed feelings about their families, one of the two. And I have really been thinking about what leads them not to be bad. Okay, maybe Stephen Miller. But what leads people to be so unconcerned, right? People are put into a plane in shackles and flown off to a secret El Salvadorian prison, and they're unconcerned. Money is flowing into the government, into people's pockets, it seems like. There's whole crypto schemes and things where, like, one of the directors of a major government institution was caught on video accepting an envelope of $50,000 in cash. And people are unconcerned. People are losing their jobs because of what they're saying, even all the way up to the highest level of entertainment. When people are critical of government, they're getting fired, and people are unconcerned. The Constitution, which my wife loves like I love Torah. Seriously, that's her love. And I watch her bind herself to that love, and how amazing it is, and how strong and courageous she is. I watch the way that the Constitution is being bent and outright broken and twisted, and people are unconcerned. And we should be very concerned that they're so unconcerned, Look, I'm still trying to put my finger on it, but ultimately what I think they've done is, rather than love, what they've chosen is fear. And that's a kind of a moral shortcut to certainty, which is very, very easy to take. A detour which is very appealing. Because if for more than a decade now, if your entire news stream, right, if every pundit that you hear is just feeding fear and fear and fear and fear into your ears and into your eyes, and honestly, you feel uncertain about the future anyways, well, okay. But the thing about choosing fear is that all things become subordinated to it. And so when you're afraid, you will sacrifice everything that you think is right to putatively keep you safe. You will give up your freedom, and you will give up your critical thinking, and you will give up your understanding of the truth. You will give up your own principles in order to protect yourself from that which you are afraid of. And somehow, Immigrants who came to this country who are just working to make a buck, to make a wave, like my grandfather was, like your grandparents were, like parents and friends and sisters and people who work for us and people we work for. They somehow are what we're afraid of. People with different identities, sexual orientations, gender identities, they're somehow or another destroying our country. And even people who voted the wrong way. They are undermining the foundation of our principles. And so let's make America afraid again. That's how I hear it. Fear, the choice to fear, it takes over everything. I'm asking you to choose not to fear. And in particular, one of the things that I want you to do is not to fight their fear with your fear. You know, a couple of weeks ago, that man, he put a bullet in a gun, in a long gun, and he shot Charlie Kirk. He shot that right-wing pundit. And that's an ideal way of treating fear with fear. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that made things a lot worse. Who wants to live in a country where people get shot just for speaking? You can't do it. It will drown us. We have to find a way to fight with love, to choose love. And you know what I want you to do to choose love? I want you to go home after Rosh Hashanah, and I want you, God help me, to write your own Ve'ahavta. Sorry. I want you to write something short and sweet. I want you to write down, and you shall love, and then immediately afterward, I want you to write what you love. The love that you will give yourself to, the love that you will sacrifice for, the love that you'll stand up for, the love that calls upon your principle, the love that demands your fairness and the justice, the love that demands that you look beyond just what we ourselves need and look look at what is right for everybody. I want you to write it down and then write the rest of the Ve'ahavta after it. You know, the whole thing about all your soul, all your life, and all of your capabilities. That part about speaking it to your children and speaking about it when you're home and away. I want you to write all of that. And I want you to take it, and I want you to fold it up, and I want you to put it behind your mezuzah. So when you walk in and out, you will see your love. I want you to keep it in your wallet, your purse, or your briefcase, and take it to work with you. I want you to sit your children down at night as you're putting them to bed, and I want you to sing your love to them. And when you get up in the morning, I want you to remind yourself who you are, the story of you, because through the story of what you love and what you will dedicate yourself to. Because I believe that where your love is, your courage is too. And a person who is filled with love in every part of them, not just in a cupboard in their heart, but in their mouth, in their hands, in their feet, beficha uveshoncha lasot, in your mouth and in your tongue to do them all, that person will never lack for courage. And though there is a lot to be afraid of, the person with courage in their heart will never be afraid. Does it matter speaking this love? Does it matter that you'll go out into the streets and you'll protest and you'll talk about what you love? Will it make a difference? I wish I could tell you that it's going to fix things right now. I wish I could tell you for sure that next year won't get worse before it gets better. I don't know. I don't even know what direction we're going in. But I will tell you this. Those two young women spoke 100 years ago to those secret policemen. And I am here reading to you what they said word for word. And nobody remembers Nachmanson's first name. And if you want to know what my love sounds like, it sounds like this. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechol levavcha, uvechol nafshecha, uvechol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha, hayom alevavecha, ve'shinantam levanecha, ve'dibarta bam, ve'shivtecha beveitecha, uvelechtecha v'aderech, uv'shochbecha v'kumecha, uv'shartam leot al yadecha, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Chazak ve'ametz. Be strong. Have courage. Fight. Shana Tova.